Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing this evening on a Father's Day evening? All the fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Hopefully you had a good one. Hopefully your little ones treated you with the proper respect. Just kidding. It's a good day to celebrate, kick back, and enjoy what life has blessed you with. And I did exactly that today. And we have a gentleman on this evening who did also that. I mean, I don't know exactly what he did, but I know he's got 3 small human beings living in his household. So that deserves quite a bit of celebration, I would say. We have Cameron Fielding in the house tonight. We're going to have a little chat with him. He is one of our experts on Agora.Community. So if you're looking for a review and you want to be reviewed by one of the best, I would suggest you swing by and see if Cameron can hook you up, because he's been doing it for a while, as we will talk about tonight. And it's funny, small little story, which will come up tonight. I'm sure he hates this. I'm going to find out really soon, but because people still talk about it, and we did use it during our promotion of this particular conversation that we're about to have. If you've ever seen it, if you've been around as long as I have, you may remember a little demo reel that went viral a long time ago, and it was because it was a bunch of Cam's work that he did on Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, and it doesn't even make any sense. I remember it melting everyone's minds how crazy good it was. And you look at it today and it still holds up. He probably looks at it and he's like, oh my God, everything's, I could do so much better now, which was just probably a good sign, but it's also a really bad sign for us, because if you can get better than that, then we all really, we're in big trouble. So let's bring him on. We'll have a little chat. I have a little special announcement. So if you don't mind, stick around till the end. This won't be, this is just an hour-long segment as opposed to our conversation with. So it's not a super long chat. So we're going to try to leave a little bit of room for Q&A, but you're probably going to want to use that for asking questions about my little special announcement that we're going to have at the very end. All right. So let's bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Cam Fielding. Hello, Cam.
Hello.
How are you? Brent. What's going on?
How are you, my friend?
No, I'm not doing too bad. So is it true? Does it drive you crazy? People still talk about this ancient demo reel of yours?
About the Turok reel?
Yeah.
That thing follows me around every time. It doesn't leave me alone.
I know. It
never goes away.
Yeah. Well, at least it was good. It could have been worse. It could have been this real big, like, stinky dumpster fire that, like, it just gets sort of attached to you and you just can't let go of its grips. And people always associate with that. At least you're associated with this sort of legendary reel that just floated around the internet before the internet was the internet.
That's
because it's way before YouTube was gigantic. I remember somehow back in the day we sent videos to each other through like email attachments, again, animators would, and that was the way things traveled virally, which is interesting because it was a hell of a lot harder to do that back then, and now it's so easy. Like everybody just watches YouTube and asks YouTube to tell them what should be viral, and they just sort of it figures itself out. So I'd be curious what would have happened if YouTube was around back then. I think YouTube was there, but it was at its very early stages. I think probably back in those days.
Fresh. Yeah, it was pretty
exactly.
Fresh.
So, I mean, for those who don't know you, I mean, like you've done work in lots of different animation industries. You've done work in feature film. You've done work in games. Did you ever work in VFX at all?
I did super briefly. I did a little stint at ILM.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. I think at one point when I looked at your background a long time ago. But mostly it's been, so you did some work. I think it was correct me if I'm wrong, but you worked at DreamWorks for a while, right?
I did for a while. Yeah.
Okay. So and then you've worked for a bunch of different video game companies and like, so out of all those things, like having done the tour in your mind, what would you say is your I know there's all pluses and minuses, but like what would you say tantalizes you the most and why?
I think the stuff that I like is stuff that's just super hard, stuff that's super difficult.
Right.
Because when you work as an animator, you get a variety of things, right? Some things are easy. Yeah. Take care of themselves. Some things just like happen magically, something will seem like it's super hard. Yeah. And it will just sort of unfold in front of you, which is nice. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I like.
You hate that. You want it to be hard.
No, I love that.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, I'm saying you hate it when it's too easy. You like it when it's like it's a challenge.
Yeah, I like it when the best times are when you work on stuff and you learn something new, right? That's what you're looking for, really. Like, just constantly is like, is there like a little pocket in here somewhere that I don't know how to approach, I haven't done before. Or like being in that situation where you've got a creative problem to solve and just being like terrified of it, I think is a good thing. Sure. Because I know when I'm when I'm animating something that for me, it's almost like a rush, because I'll have periods when I'm actually, physically doing the work, and my heart will be like beating like this. I'll actually get like the beats, because I want it to be good. I want it to I want it to work, and like I'm scared of it not, and I think that it's kind of like that adrenaline is what like really sort of makes you try and do your best job. And then there's like this little like lovely little honeymoon period after where it's like you figured everything out. Yeah. You've done all the hard work, and then it's just like, okay, sweeten it all up. Get all the clocks nice and everything, and you can just kind of like kick back and just relax. But I mean,
that's interesting because some people find it the opposite. Some people are like more stressed out at the end. You know what I mean? Like the beginning is planning. I'm like you. The beginning stresses me because it's just like, but these choices I'm making are so important, and you have to like, you really need to like think them through, and like the timing and the staging, and in the end, once it's locked in and it works, it's like, and then just like it's polishing the stone at that point. You know? Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, like just all the different ideas, because there's always 10,000 different ways you can do one tiny little thing.
Sure,
one little gesture or like something super high level. Yeah. And I think that some of that is just comes from because you never really trust yourself. Like you never really know, and so it's like showing it to other people and stuff. But part of it is just kind of like saying, well, I don't know if this is the right way to do this. I don't know if this is the right choice, but I'm just going to sort of pretend that it is. Just be confident and just do it. And like, make a choice,
Yeah.
because there's always so many choices.
That's it. And it's hard too, right? Because of that. It's like you can very easily get stuck in that sort of like that you're paralyzed with indecision because there's so many choices and you want it to, because we're all perfectionists, most of us at least. And so it makes it extra hard. And like you're right. Like sometimes you just have to be like, you know what, man? I'm gonna make a choice and I'm gonna own it. And I'm gonna pull the trigger, move forward. Otherwise, you're just gonna be stuck kind of overthinking all your decisions, and then you just end up with nothing. Not the goal.
I think for me personally, that like a bit of a tangent, but that's the struggle with personal work. Like I find that I'm definitely one of those people that I really struggle with doing my own creative work in any discipline, whether it's like trying to paint something or like I really like for me, I think the fun of being creative is doing it with other people. And that's where the fun is for me. It's not having to make every choice and validate every decision and stuff. I just, for me, there's a certain element of fun to that, but to me it's like taking the kernel of something and like growing it with other people, for me, that's where all the fun is, man. Like,
have you ever found it like, because I would tend to agree with you, but it's a little easier when you're with a group of people that you're really, you collaborate really well with. Have you found yourself in situations in the past where you've found yourself surrounded by people that are difficult to collaborate with, or are you just one of those people that can just gel with just about any group?
No, I mean, I don't think I ever have. Nice. Like there's always indecision, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
There's always different ideas.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, like 1,000 ways you can approach one idea, but I think a positive thing to be as a creative is to be able to trust someone else. It doesn't matter how well you know them or how many times you've worked with them, but sometimes you just have to trust someone else's idea and roll with that. And usually it's a good idea, usually it works out. But no, I think maybe I'm lucky. I don't know. Maybe
just one of
those guys that's sort of okay with that stuff. But
well, I mean, I guess I would agree if you're surrounded by a bunch of people that like, regardless of whether they're you agree with them or not, if you're at least lucky enough to be surrounded by a bunch of people that all want the same thing, which is it to be good, and like, so go with a decision whether you agree with it on the surface or not, because if there's enough smart people in the room that are properly motivated, you'll figure it out and it'll work itself out in the end, right?
That's right. And you've got to sometimes you might think, I might have done that a different way, but you've got to make sure that you do your best. Like as soon as you bite off that idea, that's your idea, because that thing that everyone's making is yours too. So you have to fully commit. And usually what happens is you're like, you realize, that was a good idea. I'm glad we did it like that. We didn't do it my stupid way.
Exactly. It's like, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but this worked out really good. My idea.
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe it would have been as good. Maybe it does. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because if you have something that's great in front of you and the team sort of conquered the goal, and then it's a win for everybody, right?
Yeah. And and again, like feeling good about something as a group is always better than just
I agree with that.
Look at this wicked little animation I did all by myself.
Yeah.
It's always nicer to sort of share it with other people.
So you started this by saying that you struggle with your own work because it seems like maybe you're too much a perfectionist, or maybe you just really have a hard time making some of those decisions because you just like you get caught in the details. Do you find that working with a group of people helps maybe lubricate some of those decisions a little bit, because there's kind of like you go with the flow of the group? Is that why it's easier for you, or just because you're just more motivated to work with people?
No, I know what it is. I really love animation. I really love storytelling. I really love creating an experience, a video game, a movie,
whatever it is.
Or like, even as far as, like a little tool or something for people to use. I think that it's, how do I say it? I forgot the question.
Sorry, no, it's okay. I was asking. I do this all the time. I was just because you started by saying how you have a hard time sometimes working on your own stuff.
I know what I was going to say.
Yeah, go for it.
It's a realization that there are things that you are good at.
Yeah,
and there are things that you're not, and it's impossible and it's an insurmountable goal for anyone to be good at all of those things. And I think that,
true.
Trusting other people that are better than you at stuff like that is how you make something good, and I think,
oh man, that's a wise statement right there, my friend.
Yeah, totally agree. When I try and do stuff by myself, I tend to I tend to always be in a prototype mode, I'll try this little thing, or I'll do this little thing. And I'm terrible at finishing stuff, because what happens is I hit, kind of roadblocks where I'm like, well, I can't. That kind of requires someone that's way better than me to help me, and
totally.
And it's
like you're not going to embarrass yourself by trying something you're not really good at. Like, so I'm just going to go ahead and not finish it. It's fine.
And I think it's just about just, biting off what you want to chew. You can, if you're not a modeler, you can jump into ZBrush or something and figure it out, and get into painting or whatever. But there's only a certain amount of hours in the day, and at the end of the day, it's about the bits that you really like. There's no point in trying to do everything. Just sort of do the bits you like. And if you're in a situation where you can, collaborate professionionally, it's great, or on the side, with people that you can work with. But I think it's about sort of understanding what it is that you really, what it is that's fun for you, and the stuff that you know.
Well, it's also kind of like letting your ego kind of not drive things a little bit, because like that idea that like you letting go and being like, look, there are people that are better at certain things than I am. So like, rather than like, some people tend to get a little bit too, I don't know, like they just get almost too personally involved, and they want to be making all of the decisions instead of like, no, like take a step back. I mean, like if you really want the team to win, and you want them to be successful, then you should be letting everyone play to their strengths, and you should play to yours and let others play to theirs, because at the end of the day, it is a team sport. And so the team needs to make the goals. You can't put them all in net yourself. Right. So, yeah, which some people do struggle with. I think it takes, I think some people take a few years to figure that out. Some people never do, but I think it is important that the soft skills that are involved in the, working as an animator are important. Figuring that out, how to work with a team and collaborate, for sure.
Yeah,
you're lucky that you like it so much, because not everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, it's super personal, man. Like this stuff that we do, like choosing a creative profession. Yeah, that's a risk, because you're putting yourself out there. Like what creativity is like, is your it's your view of the world.
Totally,
that's what it is.
Absolutely.
And like a painting or a piece of work, might have an interesting subject, but what's truly interesting about it is like, what does someone think of that subject? Like that's filtering of someone's perception of an idea.
Absolutely.
So it is really, really personal, and you do find those times where you're like, I really feel strong, and like that can come down to just your ability to make your case, however you want to do that, or just accept that like maybe it's more interesting, maybe a piece of creative work is more interesting if it's not just a singular perception, but it's like a bunch of people, maybe that's even more interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, I think we all agree, and like we all know kind of in the back of our minds that, you wear your heart on your sleeve as a creative person, and that can be difficult because if you are in a, you're trying to make a living off of that. So now it gets even more tricky because it's like now you for sure are putting something out there, and because it has a dollar value because you've put time into it and you're going to get paid for this, that the other person who's paying you for it has absolutely a claim to have comments on it. And so it becomes immediately, it can be very insecure position to be in, because it's like, you're right. It's not just doing work. It is also, you're putting a part of you out there, and it is in a way very easy to feel like the criticisms on that work are criticisms on the way that you might view the world, or your opinions on how things, like, your perception and it is very deep rooted and very personal. And so it's difficult to manage an attitude that allows you to do that and not get your nose out of joint, because it's deeply personal, as it is always for an artist. Yeah, it's funny. The way you put it, I never really heard it sort of spoken about like that, where it's like your personal, it is your perspective, it is your kind of opinion on the world. It's like you are speaking with your heart and you through your eyes. I mean, that's the thing. The coolest thing about art, and animation is just one of many arts. It's, music, like photography, like the countless number of arts. The thing that's so interesting about it is that it is one of those only ways. And you could do it with writing as well, of course, the literature. The idea that you can. It's like no one can see through your eyes, right? Nobody can. No, but this is the closest thing you got. You can show people what the world looks like to you.
That's right.
And so that is intertwined with your values and all these other things that you may not even be aware you're connecting it with. And so, of course, if someone doesn't like it and they think it's crap, then it's like, ugh.
It's about you, my friend.
Ouch. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So because obviously you have a very you have a sophisticated accent. I call it sophisticated because anybody who speaks English but doesn't have an English or a British accent of some sort, it always sounds fancy to me. So obviously, for those who don't know you, you're obviously not born in the States. You were born somewhere else. You want to give us a little bit of background there? Like where did you go to school? Where did you learn to do the things that you do? Obviously, you moved to the States at some point, but give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in England. I was a little boy there for, I was there for about 21 years, I think.
Oh, okay. You didn't move to 21.
Was 21.
Yep.
In fact, no, I didn't. What am I talking about? I moved to Canada when I was 24. I'm 42 now. And yeah, I mean,
did you go to school in England, or did you go for animation, or did you go to school in Canada?
No, I didn't go to school.
You're self-taught?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that makes me feel even worse.
Something that just a real memory I have is like when I was a little boy, I went to like a school fair, and it was like a fundraiser where it was summertime. They had, lemonade stands and stuff out on the school field.
It's a very vivid memory.
Yeah. And like someone's dad had built this like wooden roller coaster.
This dad sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it was just like a ramp, with like a little bump.
Sure.
And he sat on this like little skateboard thing and went down.
Yeah, totally. Super
jerry. I remember being like, "Wow, that's cool, man." And then like being little, I would play with my sister, and we had a dog, and we had this like plastic dog bed, and I put it on a skateboard, and she'd sit in it, and I'd push her around the yard, and I'd have like little sprinklers and stuff.
Right.
And I was like trying to make an experience, and then
and
I used to do this thing where like I'd get like a cardboard box, and I'd like cut a little hole in it, and inside I'd put like little Lego figures and stuff,
right?
And I'd shine little torches through it, and you kind of look through this hole, and I'd be like, "Mum, come and have a look at this, and I'd like do like a little show or something through like a little, it was like a little stage set, and I don't know, for me, like I've just always been fascinated by like trying to make people feel something, like trying to make people like have an experience which is outside of normalcy,
Sure.
And so I wanted to be a vet for ages, and then I did some work experience, and I changed my mind.
Right.
And then I just kind of, I don't know, I always thought animation was just really interesting. And so I, just like everyone like me, I started just scribbling in little corners of books. And then I pretty early, when I was maybe about 12, I started playing with like ray tracers and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I do like little TIE fighters like flying past and exploding and stuff like that. And then, I mean, the way I got into it professionally was I did a degree in graphic design. Which I have no idea how to do graphic design.
But you have a degree though. So,
I have a degree.
So you have a piece of paper that says you do know. So
I do, yeah. Yeah, I am a graphic
That's
designer,
awkward.
by the way, officially. But fortunately, because it was, you know, a bunch of years ago now and things were less defined, you could, in the final year of the degree, for some crazy reason, you could do animation. And there was no real structure for that.
Got it.
But what they did was there was a competition that was held in England. And I just got this brief. And the title of the brief was Artificial Intelligence. And I was like, okay. And then I just kind of got my little laptop, this big chunky thing. I made a short film, you know, and I didn't
know.
On
what though? What did you use? What were you using software with?
Studio Max.
Of course you were. Yeah, well, it was on like a Windows laptop probably, right? So you didn't have many choices.
That's right. And I had no idea what I was doing, you know, and I wasn't afraid, you know. I mean, I would be now. I'll be second guessing everything.
Yeah, sure.
But I wasn't afraid, you know. And I made this film. And it did well, you know. You
still have it?
I have it somewhere. Yeah.
Oh my God, I would pay a fortune to see it. maybe I could pest you until you one day just give up. I've been actually thinking about this would be a really fun sort of a really fun segment to bring on, like, you know, people, really highly experienced people like yourself, and just have fun, like almost like, you know, roasting ourselves with like our old drawings and stuff. I'm sure chat would have a friggin' ball with something like that. That's hilarious. Okay, well, if you ever undercover that particular gem, you let me know, because that'd be funny. So okay, so you did the same.
Super low res.
Oh yeah, it's probably
it was like
20 by 240.
Oh, it was tiny. Yeah,
I love it. So this, you made this thing, and this was sort of like a project for that final year for your bachelor.
Yeah, it took me about, I don't know, maybe it took me about four or 5 months or something to make it.
Okay, wow. Did you remember working, like, did you work hard on this thing? Was it like,
oh man, I just got up and I was like, boom, I couldn't get enough of it. I loved it.
Oh yeah. That was like your moment. It's like it just clicked probably, right? So so then you just couldn't let it go. You got that thing done, and it was like, this is what I need to do with my life.
Yeah, and I was able to use it to get a job at a little studio in Manchester.
Okay.
You know, with very little animation experience. Like all the animation in the little film was just like character studio biped, like
sure,
sort of like this.
Totally.
And luckily, I was just thrown right into the fire. You know, like okay, you got to animate this, boom, go,
figure it out.
And it just, I was just lucky. You know,
what kind of a company? Like, what kind of work was it at that small company in Manchester?
It was video games.
Oh, it was video games. Okay.
Yeah. So you know,
perfect, because they used Studio Max. So
we were using Maya. Yeah.
What?
It was pretty early. Yeah.
Wow.
It was Maya.
That's surprising, because like it took a while. It took a while for Maya to become like it. I assume this was after Maya was running on PCs at this point, I guess, because it would be weird to be developing a video game on an IRIX based system like Maya started on. So I guess it would have been probably right around that time that they probably switched, I bet.
Yeah, it was 2001. 20 years.
That exactly. Yeah. That was right around that time. They literally had just made that switch. So but that's weird though, because most video game companies were definitely not using Maya. It took years before that to happen. Interesting. Okay. That's fun. And so that was your first official job in the industry was on video games.
That's right. Yeah. And it was perfect because, you know, it was really manageable. You know, like what I love about video game animation is, you know, it's part of a bigger thing, obviously. But
yeah, sure.
You know, it's the way that you create it, it's very bite-sized, you know.
Yeah.
I found myself just really enjoying that. It was a perfect way to learn, you know, and I also discovered, which maybe I wouldn't have done if I'd gone like straight into film, just the fact that I love, you know, I'm a bit of a closet programmer, and I love that stuff, you know, like making little tools and things. Like I remember my my lead animator at this studio in Manchester, she was telling me how to do walk cycles, you know, and she was like, on the first frame, you want to put your feet like this. On the last frame, you know, you want to mirror them and then mirror them again. Yeah. And we had no mirror tools or whatever. So I was literally like, you know, being a kid, I was looking at the values, you know, and like trying to figure out, okay, the negative number.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what am I doing? I can make a little program. I can make a button to give me those numbers. And I've always done that. I've always like tried to like streamline my processes and like give me things to play with, you know, things that like give me more time to experiment, because it's all about having the time to try different ideas.
Okay, so here's the $1 million question, and I mean, I have a feeling I know how you're going to answer this, but I'll ask it anyways. So, do you find yourself making these kind of tools just because you kind of just that's a whole other kind of type of creation, and that you just enjoy that process? Or is it because you're just a highly efficient individual who really needs things to be streamlined, or is it both?
No, it's the thing I really like about programming tools is you get two things. So you get something at the end, which is like this little robot that does stuff for you. So it like it stops you making locators or whatever, or like things every frame, or like you know, having to roll back version. Like, you know, you get something that does something for you instantly. Yeah. But it's also it's very kind of freeing, because it works or it doesn't. Whereas animation is not like that.
Oh,
you know,
that's so true.
It's not like that, and you can work
many shades of gray.
Yeah, and like I love that, you know, and like if it doesn't work, you're not sitting there thinking, oh, did I make the right choice? You're just like debugging it and saying, oh, yeah, you know, that little array's got the wrong index or whatever. You know, it's like it's just right or wrong, and it's I think it's good. I think I'm happy that I have that interest, because it's a balance for me. Oh, you know, like the left and right hemispheres of your brain. Crazy artist, you know, being something that's very finite, you know, and it is very creative.
It really is. I mean, there's a reason why, you know, programmers are often referred to as, well, because a lot of them go through computer engineering, so they actually do get an engineering degree. Not all of them, but I mean, it is truly an engineering job. Like it's creative problem solving at its best. But animators are doing the same thing. We're not using like necessarily the numbers and the math. We're actually just trying to figure out how to solve a performance, or how to relay important information to a player during a critical game loop, or like all these things. At the end of the day, it's a problem that needs to be solved. And we just attack it with different tools in different ways. But I find that a lot of people that are working in the game industry that are animators can relate in many ways. They are all kind of, in a way, closet, not all of them, some more than others, but closet programmers, like you say. And there's a lot of commonality there. It's like it almost, you know, if we maybe were a bit more academic, we might have went to school and did that. But, you know, we're more interested in drawing pretty pictures. But but the common interest is like the satisfaction that you get when you solve the problem. It just feels so good.
And you can share it, right?
Yeah, totally.
You can give it to your team or your mate.
Yes.
And be like, look what it does, and they're like, wicked.
Yeah, you know, exactly.
Like, it saves time. It's all about being able to not get stuck in like trying an idea. It's like, what's the quickest path to try the idea? And like, just if you can make little scripts and stuff, it's just gonna help you. It's just gonna.
Yeah, I often try to tell a lot of the people that are starting out in animation that whether it's in film or whether it's in games, that they need to try to embrace a lot of that the technology. I find a lot of people are shy, or they feel like, oh no, it's way too complicated for me. I've never been like a technical person. Really hard. Yeah, but it's not, and it's becoming more and more like, or less and less difficult. Like, it's more accessible every day. Like, you take a look at these game engines, and game engines now, you don't need to know a line of code to be able to get some stuff in there. So it's like, now if there was ever a time to really dive in and embrace it, it would be now. And I think you might surprise yourself. Not only will you surprise yourself, but the job is going. You will be more valuable on a production floor, because
absolutely,
like Cam's indicating,
more hireable if you have, like, good, if you know how to do a bit of, like, you can make your own tools, or like think, at least describe to someone else potentially.
Exactly.
It's a super valuable skill.
Super valuable. Yeah, because you can unstuck yourself, and in some cases you could force multiply and unstuck your team members, and like, that's also really great. So I'm not saying that you need to become some sort of rocket scientist. I'm just saying, don't shy away from it, because it's like, you might just love it, first of all, and you in some ways you for sure probably will, and also it's like, it's so marketable. It's such a practical skill to have on any job, whether that is in film or definitely video games, because it tends to be a bit more technical anyways. But just about anywhere, like, like, you can totally it can save the day in many ways, including getting you a better job, maybe, or maybe even your first job. So I mean, one of the reasons I'm leading up to this sort of special announcement here at the end, but we tapped you a while back. You were kind of on our list of people that we were dying to actually tap, to see if you'd be willing to kind of, be a part of this whole crazy thing that we've embarked on, this Agora community adventure. And yeah, like, I mean, people like yourself signed on, and you're like, yeah, let's do this. I mean, I'm just curious, like, in your own mind, like, what were your motivations? Like, why did you, like, I mean, you're a busy guy. There's no way, you got 3 kids, right? You're a family guy, and you have a full-time job, and it's a production job. So obviously that gets very busy. So you already, just balancing that alone is its own challenge, but yet you also put yourself out there, and you are contributing to the community by doing reviews. Why do you do that?
Well, I've always, I think,
not to put you on the spot, but why?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think animation is magic, and I like, it's something that shouldn't be a secret, people shouldn't hold certain things. There's always that necessity sometimes, but I've always wanted to, like, share my personal practices and stuff that I discover, because animation is super young. It's been around hardly any time, and like the beauty of the internet is all this instant communication, and like just being able to better something. And back around that time, Turok time, like 2008 or whatever, I had a little blog, and I was putting little tutorials and little tips.
I remember that.
And I really enjoyed it, because I liked to help other people. And also I like to take all this stuff that was like flying around in my head and condense it and put it in a format that I could understand.
That's a very common thing. It's just organizing information on your own makes you better understand your own workflows, right? So you benefit in a way, but you also, at the same time, everyone else can too.
And I realized a bunch of years ago that it's super hard. What will happen is, when if you want to share stuff, you'll have like a bunch of ideas, and you'll kind of kick them out really quickly, and then you'll realize, like, the best stuff to put out there is not like a rehash, or, of an idea, but it's to try and put something out there that you haven't seen before. Like a way of thinking about something, or special technique, that is actually new information. And I kind of realized that takes a lot of time, and
it totally does.
I've started a family, and I just sort of, I kind of caught myself. I was like, you could kind of do this, or you could raise your kids, like, be there for your kids, be a good dad, Cam, don't be on the computer all the time, writing tutorials. But they're getting big now. Like my oldest guys, 14.
That's crazy. It must feel like just yesterday that he was just much younger than that, I'm sure.
Yeah. And this is kind of perfect for me, you know, because I can, you know, in a relatively manageable way, which is the beauty of the format you guys are doing, this kind of nice little bite-sized format. You know, it's not super time consuming for people like me to do it, you know, and just being modern now, you know, it's all just live and recorded with syncs. There's no writing and stuff. And I like it, and I like to look at a piece of work and have to condense it. Like that's something that's great about, you know, working on things with people, is like when you see something and you've only got like what feels like a couple of seconds or minutes to be like, you know, hey, this, you know, here's what I think this is great, you know, what, you know, I feel like this is working and stuff like that. And you it trains you to sort of hone your skills of understanding what you're looking at. And I think that
it's so true.
Looking at other people's work, you know, and picking, you know, a couple of suggestions to help improve. It's just it's fun, you know, and it's manageable, you know, and I think that it's a format in which you can say new ideas and new approaches and kind of, you know, hit the same things I was trying to do years ago with like explaining my processes, because that's ultimately what I'm going to talk about, is like how I would do it, you know, or how I've seen someone else do it successfully.
Absolutely.
You know?
So it's sort of scratching that itch, right? You had an itch to like to be able to like, because you have such a romantic relationship with animation. It's very clear, right? Like you love it. It's something that you really love doing. Like so many of us, like it's just a thing that's part of our life that we just love. And so if you love something that much, and you care about other people that are interested in also discovering it, then for sure you're gonna want to share that love, because it's like you're sharing that love with the world, right? Why wouldn't you want to do that? And you know, if people can tap into your brain and your experience to sort of get an idea as to how they might tackle problems or similar sort of, you know, challenges themselves, then great, because it's you're giving a kind of a window for people to possibly love it as much as you do. Right.
And even if it's not, you know, like we were talking about before, about sort of, you know, many people are fortunate to, you know, work in studios and stuff and have people that they really trust to kind of give feedback, but not, you know, everyone's feedback is valid. But, you know, sometimes there are people that just need someone that is a professional just to have a little look and just sort of, you know, give more of a professional.
I agree.
You know.
Well, it's just because at the end of the day, they gotta like, because there's one thing, everyone's opinion is valid, like you said, anyone with a set of eyes, because anybody could be a player playing the game that you're animating for. Anyone could be an audience in the theater watching the movie you worked on, and so they all are consumers of the art that you're creating, and so therefore they all have an opinion, whether you like it or not. And yet the difference is that an opinion is great because it can maybe indicate that there might be something that's not working, but it takes experience to know maybe how to fix that or how to make it better.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, your mum can be like, oh, I don't quite think that little bit works, but she might not necessarily be able to suggest how to fix it. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe she can tell something feels off, but she doesn't know it's because the feet are sliding on the contact pose. And it's like for us, we've looked at these things for so long, and the patterns, they jump out at us, and there's like immediately our brain is scanning. It's like the Matrix. We're like, and there's things that like for whatever reason we see there's a problem. It sort of tweaks this reflex, and we're like, ooh, that reminds me of the time that it's definitely a weight issue. So if it's weight, then I should be looking at the feet. I should be looking at the hips. Where's the balance? And then we just eventually zero in on it. And like you're saying, that's exciting for us too, because it allows us to sharpen our skills, because that key observational loop of looking and then reacting is something that helps us with our own work. right? Because it is allowing us. So like just practicing on other people's work makes us a little sharper ourselves, right? In many ways. That's why it's exciting. I think it's exciting for me too. I totally love looking at someone else's work, and I learn a lot from other people's work too, like a lot. Like and you could be a totally, you could be a rookie animator and you could teach me something huge, because sometimes it's often the case, like a Wade Children can teach us so many things if you're willing to take a minute to watch and listen, because they're not burdened by, like you were saying this earlier, right? Like you were brave when you were in doing your final assignment, because you're just like, you didn't know, you're just going to try stuff, right? Who cares? Like, but now maybe if you try to do that now, you'd be like, oh no, I can't do that because that wouldn't look good enough. But kids, they don't have that, right? They have no inhibitions because they don't have a reference. They're just like, I'm just going to do it and figure it out. That watching kids play is one of the most rewarding parts of being a dad, because they just try things without not even a glimmer of fear of failing, which so many of us get paralyzed by later on in life, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that, I wouldn't say I'm envious of anyone, but like, the people that I wish I could kind of absorb some of their ability is like the people that, I'm not so much like that. They're like, I'm just going to do this and do this and do that and do that, and we all do a bit of that, but some people are just ruthless, they're just like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try this,
Yeah.
It's like that. That's just really inspiring.
It's super inspiring.
Yeah.
They're the people that change the world, man. It takes people that are just like, they're just going to do it. It's either because they don't care they're going to be judged, or because they just accept that fact and they move forward anyways, because it's not important enough to them to like not do it. But like it requires, those are the real, like very, like the creative trailblazers are the ones who just set forward and they just go,
because they've managed to retain that child.
I think so.
Approach.
More so than others. Maybe. Yeah. So this brings me to, I think, the announcement. So what we are going to be doing every once in a while, and Cam is our first guinea pig for this particular idea, is in a spirit of getting to know some of our experts, Cam, of course, being one of them. We want to just do these little spotlights, just kind of hang out with them and just sort of figure out what makes them tick, and why have they blessed us with their time, because obviously time is always precious. Everyone's time is precious, and it's nice that Cam and so many others have decided that this community was an important thing to invest time in. And so Cam, thank you. I mean, I've thanked you before, but let me thank you on air for being part of the community. You're amazing. And so what we're going to be doing is these little spotlights. This is the first one. And what we're going to be doing tonight, and I'm actually, it's funny because Pat's he's the Wizard of Oz who makes all these things go. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to work, but after the stream is over, or it'll be sometime early tomorrow, you will notice that we're going to be giving away 5 free reviews from Mr. Fielding himself. Okay, so it is first come, first serve, and they're going to go quick. So I will, if they're not available right after the stream, then I'll have to make another announcement at some point, and you're just going to have to be glued to your phone, because I don't know exactly when that's actually going to happen. But I promise I will let you know, or somebody will. Just check your social channels. And yeah, they're going to go quick, and we're going to try to do this more often. Just this idea of like giving you a chance to maybe you've been thinking about getting a review for a while, and like you're like, you're learning, and you're nervous about putting yourself out there. Hopefully the theme of this conversation tonight helped you decide that maybe maybe you just should, because that's one of the ways forward. One of the ways forward is like, yes, absolutely learn things and absolutely experiment, but at some point it's just nice to get someone to tell you, maybe offer you some advice on how to approach that problem, because I feel like people have been doing it for a while, like Cam and like myself. It's like we've just navigated those treacherous waters for so long. It's like we've drawn those pirate maps with like the sea monsters and stuff like this. It's like I'd like to think that I've encountered enough of them that maybe you don't have to, maybe you can actually just get a little bit of advice. Totally optional, but if you felt like you wanted some of that kind of feedback, then now would be a great time, because it's not going to cost you anything. 5 of them, not a lot to go around, but we will be doing this more often. So that's it. So I'm going to switch over to kind of Q&A, because I'm going to have 10 minutes left. I wanted to know if anybody had any questions for for Cam, or maybe questions about the Q&A that we're going to be, or not the Q&A, this promotion that we're going to be doing. Anybody? Sea monsters. Yeah, that's the out of everything tonight. What chat got from this conversation was sea monsters, pirate maps, and sea monsters. Anybody? Does anybody have anything they want to say or want to ask? Or does anybody have like some sort of inspirational words that they'd like to bestow upon us at this moment? So quiet. It's like crickets in there. This is what it sounds like in chat right now. That's what it sounds like. It's like this. Yeah. Is there a way to redeem the review right away? Like I said, Petter, I wish Pat was like accessible right now on Slack. I don't know exactly. So I'm sorry, this is a little bit janky. It's either going to be just like as soon as the stream, because that was the original plan. The stream is going to be over. You could head over there and check. If it's not up and running within the next hour, then I would think the safe assumption would be that maybe it would be available sometimes early. Early tomorrow. So, but don't worry, this is not the last time we're going to do this. It's going to happen again. We want to do this every once in a while. So if you're not one of the lucky 5, I promise you'll get another chance, or 3. It was very faint in the background. Oh, what? Oh, you didn't hear that? You didn't hear that? Let me crank it up a little bit. Just for you, Crab Nuts. This one's for you, buddy.
What's my favorite thing about my work? Just working people that I trust, working with people I trust and having fun and just doing difficult stuff. That's my favorite thing.
Oh, look at this one. This is a juicy one. Let me bring it up on the screen so everyone can see it. So we got Dark Diodos. What do you think about Unreal Engine 5, and will it change the world?
I have no idea. I think it looks amazing. I think it's it's got a bunch of stuff in there that helps people use it, makes it easy for people to use. I think that's a good thing. Billions of polygons.
Yeah, I think
it's something wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's what could possibly go wrong. It sounds like a really great way for artists to break the build. That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah. It sounds like a genius way for artists to completely it's like, oh, look at all, you just throw as many polygons as you want. Oh, that sounds like a challenge. Right. Just wait for it. I can hear all the millions of people, like programmers, crying out in pain right now over the next many months of disastrous overnight builds that just fail because there's just someone found that there is a limit to the number of polygons, apparently.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got another one here. When working on a production and you were given a shot which made you go, oh dear Lord, how am I going to do this? How did you get through it? Do you have like an anecdotal story in your mind of one of those times where you literally, like you said, your heart gets beating, and what was like? Do you have like one of those scariest moments of production that you remember, or do you block them all in your memory?
I think the way you get through it is just to kind of, even though you're scared, is embrace that and see that as your fuel. And I always start by I'm not a guy who's gonna I used to do this more than I ever do now, but I'm not really a guy that will thumbnail stuff. I'll just spend ages thinking about what I'm trying to do, and I'm always reminding myself, whether it's a shot or a piece of animation in a game or something, it has this ultimate purpose, of making the thing you're making a good product. That's the ultimate goal of it. But at the same time, what I used to drive that is just that feeling I used to have as a little boy, watching Indiana Jones, walk up to the golden idol and jump over all the booby traps and stuff. It's I want to make that feeling, I want to be able to feel like I can make a feeling like that and make it real.
That was a very interesting moment from Hollywood to invoke that moment of the idol and Indiana Jones. That's you approaching a new shot.
I'm always remembering, what is it about what I'm trying to do? Why am I doing this? And there's the business side, and there's the side that's about you, and I always just will kind of embrace that fear. I'll get the beats and I'll be like, wicked, I've got the beats. This is hard. And then I'll look for reference, I'll look at other animation. I'll shoot tons of reference of myself, or collate reference, you know, and I'll always try and I tend to like thinking about getting a scruffy idea of something. It is about like, instead of like trying to think what's the like the minimum amount of things that you need to show to prove the idea, I try and think of it in the other way, like what's all the stuff that I don't need, like what are the things that are not important, like what is the stuff that comes later, you know, like try and figure those things out first. Like I don't need him to like open the door and that, you know, it doesn't matter, he can just be there doing his thing. And I just fight through it, and it's painful. But like, you know, that time comes where you get over that bump, and it's it's polished land, and it's fun time, and like that's what it's all about. It's like if your heart isn't beating and you're scared that it's going to be not good, then
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, do a harder idea.
That's right. It's funny because it's a little bit like exercise, right? Like, I mean, I hate exercising, but like it's every single time I get out there on a bike or I go for a little jog, I'm always like, this is actually like, I mean, I sometimes I get really bored when exercising. I prefer playing a sport, but like I always feel really good afterwards, right? Like it always feels good. It always feels worth it. It's weird. Like it's almost like you need a good mechanism to just get started, because it always feels good eventually. Once you like the endorphins that fire, especially, I mean, there's truly like a relationship between the challenge of the shot and the amount of like euphoria that you experience after conquering it. And so that's probably why you're so addicted to those tough ones, because it feels so good when you get through it, right?
Like I will watch, like when I've finished an animation, I don't know if this is just me, but I'll do a play blast and I will watch it for ages. I'll just watch it over and over and over and over and over, over and over and over and over again. And it's not like I'm sort of trying to look for things to fix. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, shit, that's what I did, you know, and like that's a good feeling. Like, and there's always like a little gesture or like a little pose or something.
Like, that's it.
That little.
I
got that little thing, you know, and to me, that's just like,
I know
it's a rush.
I really like this concept, and I found this is a really good attitude, by the way, for not for you, but obviously you know this, but for people listening, when it comes to game animation stuff, I find that this idea of approaching the problem backwards is extremely useful for very technical things. This idea of like, what is it not? This is usually something that I do. I try to bring this conversation up when I'm in a feature review meeting where we're talking about a game feature, and it's like people are always like, oh, it could be this and this and this and this and this. It's like, you know what? These are all really great ideas, but you know what? The idea is only an idea until we get it in the game in some way. And I find that one of the most difficult things is to get a bunch of very creative people that are usually very ambitious to try to boil it down to its most simple ingredient. It's like, let's make sure we don't overcomplicate it with a bunch of stuff that we absolutely don't need. And so having that conversation about what do we not need can sometimes be the most revealing thing. It can be sometimes the most important thing, because it allows you, it unblocks you, because you stop getting paralyzed by these boogeymen that are in the closet that you can just not worry about that one, because he's like, that's just not, don't even bring that up in the conversation, because we are just talked about, we don't need that, because that's like the kind of things that sort of get they're roadblocks. And I find that especially in a collaborative world, I don't know if you've ever been in these kind of conversations before, but like, you know, people tend to get like, because people are smart, you know, in these kind of like creative, smart people work in these kind of companies, the video game companies and film companies. And so naturally you put enough of them in the room, they will outthink themselves into almost not starting, because they're like, oh, but no, because of this won't work. And this. It's like, you kind of almost want to be like, okay, ground rules, these are things we shouldn't even talk about because they're not even a thing. Oh, okay. Oh, well, then that's interesting. Now we can actually feel like we can get moving somewhere because we don't get stuck on these things that are just not even important. Yeah, that's interesting. I remember I felt like that before in like features, but I think that I've never thought of that interestingly when I sit down to start a shot, but I could see how it would easily apply even in my just animation. Like what do I not need to worry about here? Don't waste time on these things.
Right.
Yeah, it's smart. Okay, so we got one last question, then I'm gonna let you go because it's 11 o'clock. Well, it's 11 o'clock for me, but I guess that makes it 8 o'clock for you? 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, exactly. So one last one, if you don't mind, really, really quick. I think it was this one right here. This is just a fun one because I don't know. I have no idea how you're going to answer this because I wouldn't know how to answer this question. But how do you prefer gameplay animation or cinematics animation? And like, what would be the justification behind that choice, if there is one?
The answer is no.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't think that's how I would answer. One or the other because they're very different.
Totally. You know, it's like apples and oranges.
Apples to oranges.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the problems are different. You know, the approaches are different. The pipelines are different. The user is different and experiencing it in a different way. I think that both of them are just sandboxes to learn about animation. And if you're fortunate enough to get to do both of them, then it's good for you, you know, because cinematics will teach you a lot about game animation, and game animation will teach you a lot about cinematics. But ultimately, their function is different. You know, cinematic is usually to sort of, you know, tell a deep, rich story and stuff like that. And obviously, games are that too. But the function of animation in a game is you know, about the player feeling like they're there, like they're that person, you know, whereas a movie is more like the audience kind of sitting back and, you know, just consuming it and not actively involved. And so it's very different constraints and challenges, you know.
It feels different too. Like I still remember the first shot that I animated on in a film that was in the theater, and it just being like, oh my God, are people going to like it? You know, they're going to laugh. And that's a very exciting moment. But you know what is also exciting is, this never gets old when you put a bunch of, you know, animations into a game, you know, like let's say it's like the run cycle and the idle, and you're quite literally bringing a character to life. And there's this interesting psychological link that runs sort of through you down into your arms and into your hands as you interface with this controller or the mouse and keyboard if you're a PC kind of person. There's this weird thing about you enjoy that experience in a completely different way, in a non-passive way. It's like it's as an animator who's created those things, it's extremely interesting, both of those situations. And like Cam's saying, I totally agree. Like you learn so much, like there's no going wrong. You're just learning animation from a completely different perspective through a completely different set of lenses. And that can be very rewarding because it allows you to, it blesses you with the ability to see it and approach problems differently. And you're like, wow, I never even thought of doing that. But that like this, doing it like this as a gameplay animator, I'm going to bring that over the next time I'm animating something like a cinematic, because it's like, why wouldn't I? But you might not have discovered that if you were always just sort of doing it the same way over there. Right. So, and vice versa, obviously. It makes a lot of sense. Well, Cam, thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being you. Thank you for putting yourself out there since like 2000 and whatever. And thank you for continuing to do that. I'm glad that Agora.Community can give you that outlet that allows to, you know, it gives you a convenient way of connecting with and doing all the, you know, getting out of it what you get out of it. And it sounds like there's a healthy, you know, mix of different reasons why you do it. And whatever those reasons are, we're lucky to have you. So thank you very much. Pat did guys as well. No, it was awesome to have you, honest to God, and it's awesome to have you around on a regular. And Pat did poke me, and he seems to have disappeared back into his wizard smoke. But I think he says it works, so I think that means the stream ends, and I think you should be able to go check it out. So if you are interested in grabbing something, which I'm sure most of you are, you should go take a look and see if you can grab one of those hotly. Oh, it already looks like it's happening. Okay, I see a yep. So I guess it does look like it. Oh, there it is. So just stop watching, go get a review. Thank you, Cam. See you around. And thank you, chat. I'll see you around as well. Stay animated, my friends. See you on the next one. Cheers. Bye, Cam.
See ya.
Hey.